Hi, everybody. This is Leanne Beard, and she's here to share her recovery story for Westmoreland Drug and Alcohol Commission's Reality of Recovery series. Thank you, Leanne.
Hi, everybody. My name's Leanne. I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. My sobriety date is 5/16/19. I was introduced to the program in 2016, and it took me until now to finally get it. Relapse is a part of my story. So anyway, I'm here to tell you about what happened, what it was like, and what it's like now. I was born in Philadelphia on April 3rd, 1980. I am the youngest of three. I have two older brothers who tortured me endlessly when I was growing up, but it just made me tougher, in the long run. I was left to my own devices a lot of the time because my mom worked three jobs to put us all through Catholic school. So I was a latchkey kid. I would come home from lunch in grade school, make my own lunch. I also realized I had a lot of the isms early on. When I was in grade school, like 6th, 7th grade, I was smoking my mom's cigarettes and, her butts in the ashtray when I would go home for lunch and stuff. The stealing, the lying, that was all them isms I had at a very young age. Growing up, I had a pretty good childhood. There was some abuse early on, and that affected me to where I guess I just kind of went into myself. My emotions and things like that. I started to hide. It was just easier to stuff everything down and not feel them. So I grew up in a playground, spent most of my days, like Will Smith said, in Philadelphia. That's what you did. We hung in the playground and, we smoked cigarettes and drank beer and stuff. I didn't like beer, so I wasn't really a drinker when I was growing up. So I smoked a lot of weed. That was my thing. So in grade school, there was a bunch of girls who would intimidate me. I was bullied a lot in grade school. So I would take different routes. So I knew where they, if I knew they were walking somewhere, I would take a different route so I could avoid them. So I always felt like I didn't fit in. I always felt like, and I also always felt like I would do whatever it was that you liked. If I wanted to be your friend and you liked red popsicles, then guess what? I like red popsicles too. If you liked country music, I loved country music just as much as you did because I just wanted to fit in. I was a chameleon, wearing many, many masks for my whole life. High school was rough for me. I went to school in the inner city in Philadelphia, and I was thrown out my freshman year for the most negative demerits of a student ever in the school. I was always in the middle of fights. I was always in the middle of something, feeling like I had to try to prove myself because I didn't love myself. I wanted to be anything else but myself. So anyway, I got kicked out of Catholic school, Catholic high school, and at that time, if you got kicked out of school, you weren't allowed to go to another Catholic school in the city. You had to go somewhere else. And my mom had already known that there was something up with me. Her and I were butting heads all the time, as I got older and went into high school. So she basically dropped me off, on my dad's doorstep, which back up a little bit. My mom and dad were divorced when I was really young, when I was like 1 or 2. Don't have very many memories of him. The memories I do have were of me sitting, waiting for him to come. He said he would come, and, and me and my brother sitting there waiting, and he would never show. So then my mom and dad got divorced. I lost my spot here. I'm sorry, guys. Going back to high school. So like I said, I didn't have a relationship with my father. I didn't know him very well. And here's my mom dropping me off on his doorstep. And I'm like, what is going on? So my mom was very, very lenient with me. She felt bad because she had to work all the time. So she would give me whatever I wanted, whatever, I needed and wanted, I had. So she drops me off on my dad's doorsteps, and my dad was very um, strict, very, very strict. I wasn't used to any kind of punishment. And here I am being punished in high school. Um, he would sit outside with, if a guy picked me up or dropped me off, he would sit outside with a shotgun, wait for me to come home on the front porch. Very intimidating. A lot of people didn't want to come to my house. Um, anyway, so then, the drinking became more heavily in high school, not for myself, but for everybody else, was partying a lot more. And I was introduced to Verdi. And it wasn't beer, so that's what I drank, and I was 16 when I had my first drink, um, and 15 when I had my first joint. So the combination, when I had my first drink, actually something that I enjoyed to drink, um, I just felt like I fit in. I could talk to everyone, even the girls that, like, were I was avoiding. I was somehow communicating with them, and it was, like, I felt like I had arrived. I was here. I this is exactly what I need, to be the person that I thought, I'd never wanted to be myself. So that being said, I felt like this is what I needed to be who the person I wanted to be. And then the combination of the pot too, it was just, I was off to the races. Um, so when I was a senior in high school, I moved back in with my mom because my dad was so strict. And I met a guy who was the deacon in our church. It was his son. And you know what they say about those kind of guys. And it's so very true that they, well, for my first Kevin, his name was, he was very, very wild and partied a lot. And he introduced me to Xanax. And that was my love. I did whatever I could to get it. We had moved in together right out of high school. I had bought, I put a down payment on a apartment with my graduation money because I just wanted out. I didn't want to have to listen to anybody or go by anybody's rules in their house. I just wanted to be go and party and do whatever I wanted to do. In the meantime, I had wrecked probably 3 cars by this point. My dad would just buy me a new one. No consequences for my actions as far as, as this point. I graduated high school with second honors, which was pretty, pretty amazing because in Philly, there I just got in trouble constantly. And when I moved up to my dad's in the suburbs of Philly, it was like a totally different world for me, and I kind of chilled out and relaxed, and I was able to kind of have some peace in my life and not all this mayhem all the time. So that was one of my nice accomplishments that I graduated with second honors. After high school, I did some college courses at Bucks County Community College, and I went to classes and I was like, what is this about? Like, there's no parties here. There's no, like, this isn't what I thought college was. So I dropped out. I stopped going. After that, I just was hanging on the coattails of others, if especially guys. Guys was one of my big addictions as well. I just wanted to be loved. I felt I had that fear of abandonment because of my dad. So, I latched on to any guy who showed me any kind of, he could have thrown me a piece of gum and I'm yours, and it was all the wrong guys, always. So then I get a job after, now I'm 25, and I am working at St. Christopher's Hospital in Philadelphia. And I was working in their dental department doing, we would put kids to sleep and do all their dental work at one time or sedate them and do some work. So I loved my job, and my mom worked there. So we would have lunch every day. It was really nice. By this point, I had graduated to Percocets, and I met my first husband while I was working there. His mother and my mother were really close work associates. So she kept saying, "Oh, I want to introduce you to my son." I want to introduce you to my son. And my mom would say the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, right. I'm like, I am not going to go out with a guy that my mom wants to hook me up with. Um, but anyway, he was in Iraq, and I had saw him on TV. David Bloom was a reporter who passed away from a heat stroke while he was there, and he had interviewed my husband, and I was able to see him on the TV before he even came home, and I was like, okay, I think I can rock with that. So he came home, and it was just like a whirlwind. He came home, and we just partied, 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 partied. I was doing Percocet. He didn't know that I was doing it. We did drink together. He knew I was smoking weed, but he didn't, because of his job and stuff. Long story short, I get pregnant with my first son. And we move in together. I have my son. Everything's great. On the outside, everything's great. And then on the inside, I'm a drug addict, My drinking didn't really take off till later in my life. But drugs was always a part of my life, always. So then I have my first son, and everything's wonderful on the outside. As long as I can keep up that facade, everything's great. I have my daughter, my first daughter. My son was born in 2005. My daughter's been born in 2006. And then we got married because that was the right thing to do. But it was the totally wrong thing to do for us. We were young. We didn't know what we were doing, really. We were just going along with the motions, to be honest. I don't even know if we really were in love. I know I loved him, but I don't really know that I think I grew to love him, because when I met him, it was like there was this fork in the road. And I'm like, okay, Leanne, you were with all these losers your whole life. And now you have a chance to be with a great guy who, has a great job and everything. And so that's what I did. I stayed with John. Fast forward to 2010, I have another baby girl. 2011, another baby girl. So I have two sets of Irish twins. That was very hard for me. My husband went to Iraq 2 more times after that, and I was left with infants, like all babies, to get, whenever he went. And that was very hard for me. That was very hard. At this point, I started getting into heavier drugs, using on a daily basis. Then came, just, it just got really, really bad. My husband and I were fighting constantly, weren't getting along. So we decided to separate. Well, he decided to leave. And what was the deciding factor was that my daughter, I kept up this facade the whole time. He didn't know I was on drugs. And my youngest daughter was born addicted to methadone. I was not prescribed it. I was taking it off the street. That's how naive I was. I thought that if I lowered the dose down enough, that nobody would notice. That's how sick I was as a mother. But she had problems. She was withdrawing, and I knew that. So CYS got involved, and it was pretty bad, And I can remember my husband. I had to call him at work. He was on the base, and I had to call him and ask him to come to the hospital, because I had to tell him something. And I told him that Abby was addicted, and he said, I knew something was up. And he got up and he left the hospital, and never came back. So when I got out of the hospital, he decided he was leaving, and I had my kids there for a while. We were separating, he lived with his mom. I lived at the house we owned, and we would have the kids. He would have the kids on the weekends, and I'd have them during the week. My kids became a burden, and one day my husband came to my house and to pick up the kids, and he had a paper in his hand from a judge, and it said, he said to me, if you don't sign this, because he knew by this point that I was a full-blown addict, and he said, if you don't sign this, then you won't see the kids again. And so I signed a paper giving my husband full primary custody of my kids. And that was because that's how sick, that's where my disease took me. That's how sick I was. I wanted to give my kids away so I could go do whatever I wanted to do and not have any, not have any baggage, if you will. I look back at it now and it just disgusts me, the things I put my kids through. Anyway, once they were gone, though, I was full steam ahead. I it only took 2.5 months, and I was doing heroin and smoking crack and letting these losers live in my house that were keeping me high, and they would give me drugs and not give me any money, but I didn't care. I just wanted the drugs. So I had all these really bad people around me all the time. 2015, I finally, my mom said, listen, you got to do something. You're sick, and you got to go to rehab. So I went to rehab to appease her. I didn't learn much. My head was so full of poison that I really couldn't make a clear thought or form a full sentence, to be honest. So I really didn't get much out of it, and I went home and relapsed. I actually relapsed. The rehab was in Florida. I relapsed in Florida, and I was on the street because I relapsed at the halfway house I was living in, and they throw you out, and I was living on the street, and things got really, really bad. I did all of the things that I said I would never do, and then some. So I'm homeless now, living on the streets, drug addict in a town that I don't know, by myself. So of course I seek out other addicts like myself, so I can get what I need and want. Moved back to Philly. It got really bad in Florida. I moved back to Philly and of course relapsed again. I did some really horrible things while living at my mother's house and was kicked out from there. So once again, here I am, on the streets, and now it's in Philly, which is 1,000 times worse than Florida. But I had a beautiful family I could go home to anytime, and I chose to stay in my addiction. I chose um, to continue, being sick and with, continue feeding my disease. Moving forward, so I was introduced to introduced to a 12-step program in 2016. I had tried Suboxone before this to get clean. I had tried Subutex. There was a bunch of things that I tried, counseling, whatever else, but nothing seemed to work until I was introduced to the 12-step program. So 2016, relapse, everything till come to 2018. I meet my second husband. He's absolutely wonderful. We have a beautiful baby girl together. I have three stepsons. Today, 2018, I actually immersed myself into the program, and I really wanted it this time. Every rehab I went to before seemed to I seemed to grab a little bit more knowledge of what I needed to do, and thank God for that. They say all you need is a mustard seed of willingness, and I definitely had that then in 2018. That being said, I relapsed, and my sobriety date now, like I said, is May 16th, 2019. So I have like a year and 3 months now. Today, my life, coming from the streets, living on the streets, and then coming to where I am now, I never thought in a million years I could have the life I live today, ever. I never thought I would learn to love myself. I had accepted the fact I was going to die an addict and an alcoholic. Today, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine going back to where I was. I just couldn't imagine it. I have a sponsor today. I have a Leigh, and I have fellowship and all of the things that I never thought would be possible for me. um, just doing the next right thing, doing what I'm supposed to do, just brings you so many blessings. And it's so awesome to have this great relationship with my higher power today, because without him, I wouldn't be able to do anything. He's my rock and gets me through everything, pretty much, good and bad. I have a sponsor that I lean on, and she guides me and teaches me how to live as a woman of God today, and live as, a woman in a 12-step program, um, and which I didn't know how to do before. I didn't know how to live sober. That was the thing. I kept relapsing because I didn't know how to be happy sober. Um, but she teaches me that, and so do my sisters. My sisters in sobriety. I have a great we right now, and we pick each other up, we lift each other up, we're there for each other, no matter what. um, it's just an amazing feeling to be able to share some of the most intimate moments of your life with another woman, and know that she's going to keep that information and help you, and to guide you in whatever it is that you're going through. And we do things together. We have fun. We go out and we laugh and we joke around, and it's just an awesome experience. Um, I think today, my biggest gift is that I reconnected with my kids. Um, I'm present today. I'm a mother. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a daughter, sister, and aunt. All the things that I wasn't before, in my active addiction. And it feels so good that people call me. My people in my family call me for advice today. Like, I'm like, oh my God, and it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to know that I'm gaining the trust back of my family, and I have all these awesome relationships today. I didn't know how to be a friend before. I didn't know how to be a mother, and through working a 12-step program, those are the gifts. Those are the gifts and the promises of it. So I guess that will pretty much be it.